Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I believe we are reading text 12, 13 and 14. The text 14 is on the board because text 12 and 13 have no purport.
Starting from 12.
The words on the board is Te Vijitya Nirpam Vira Ajaru dig-vijaye ujasa ajata satve bhuri dhavina nirpam yakshate te vijitya nirnamira te vijitya nirpamira yaru digva ojasa ajata satve bhuri dhavina nirpam yakshate te vijitya nirpamira yaru dig-vijaye ajata satve bhuri dhavina nirpam yakshate te vijitya nirpamira yaru dig-vijaye ojasa ajata satve bhuri dhavina nirpam yakshate Mataji's lady.
Vijitya, defeating, Nirpan, kings, Veeraha, heroes, Atanuhu, brought, dig-vijaye, from the different directions, Ojasaha, by the personal strength, Ajata Shatrave, Yudhishthira Maharaja, whose enemy was never born, Bhuri, abundant, Dravinam, wealth, Nirpa, King Partial, Yakshate, who was intending to perform sacrifice.
Okay. 12 and 13 have no purport, so we'll just read the translation and then go to text 14. Okay.
Translation. Gopal Goswami said, upon hearing these words sung by the Supreme Lord, King Yudhishthira became joyful and his face blossomed like a lotus. And he sent forth his brothers who were empowered with Lord Viṣṇu's potency to conquer all directions. He sent Sahadeva to south with Srinjas, Nakula to the west with Matsyas, Arjuna to the north with Kekyas, and Bhima to the east with Madrakas. After defeating many kings with their prowess, these heroic brothers brought back abundant wealth for Yudhishthira Maharaja, who was intent on performing their sacrifice, O King Gopal. Srila Prabhupada writes, it may be noted that by dispatching his younger brothers to conquer in different directions, King Yudhishthira did not actually intend that they declare war. Srila Prabhupada writes, it may be noted that by dispatching his younger brothers to conquer in different directions, King Yudhishthira did not actually intend that they declare war with the kings. Actually, the brothers started for different directions to inform the respective kings about King Yudhishthira's intention to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. The kings were thus informed that they were required to pay taxes for the execution of the sacrifice. This payment of taxes to Emperor Yudhishthira meant that the king accepted his subjugation before him. In case of a king's refusal to act accordingly, there was certainly a fight. Thus, by their influence and strength, the brothers conquered all the kings in different directions, and they were able to bring in sufficient taxes and presentations. These were brought before King Yudhishthira by his brothers.
Om Jnana Jnananjana Shalakya Śrī Chaitanya Manovistam Sakamena Jai Śrī Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Dev Nityamya Pamira Ajaru Dig-vijaye Ojasa Ritana Satana Bhuri Davinam Nirpa Yakshade. She is reading the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the 10th canto describes the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Krishna says, Janma karma chame devyam. My appearing and disappearance are more transcendental. In the 10th canto you see how Krishna performed superhuman pastimes which cannot be duplicated by anyone. Many people claim to be God, but you ask them to imitate even one of the activities, they will fail. Once I was participating in a discussion, and somebody said, why do you say there's only one Krishna? We're all Krishna, and we can all become Krishna. So I said, okay, why don't you just duplicate one of his activities? And he said, just because I can't do it today doesn't mean I won't be able to do it tomorrow. So they keep giving forgery checks. Prabhupada was very keen that the 10th canto be presented in an authentic way. Prabhupada, when he came to America, was the first book he wanted published was the Krishna book, because he wanted people to know the pastimes and the true spirit. Not that we jump straight to the Asvita section. So here we're reading the slaying of the demon Jarasandha. King Yudhishthira was a God-conscious king who knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One day, Yudhishthira was sitting in an assembly of great sages, brothers, cousins. Can you all hear me in the back, or should I speak louder? Can you all hear me? No? Oh. Should I speak louder? Now? Okay. So King Yudhishthira was sitting in an assembly of sages, brothers, cousins, etc. And the Lord was also present over there. So King Yudhishthira told the assembly, I would like to perform a Rajasuya sacrifice. The Rajasuya sacrifice is described in the Bhagvatam as the king of all sacrifices. So, very beautiful deities you have here, and a beautiful temple. So the Rajasuya sacrifice is considered the king of all sacrifices. And the reason why Yudhishthira wanted to perform was not because the Pandavas needed something in exchange, like people go to the demigods because they have some material aspiration. He wanted to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice to glorify Krishna. He wanted all the demigods and the whole planet to recognize that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. The demigods are not equal to the Lord, nor are they independent of the Lord. The purpose of the Rajasuya sacrifice was to enhance Krishna's position. King Yudhishthira, King Yudhishthira praised the Supreme Lord, glorified the Supreme Lord with very sweet language. And he wanted to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice so that we could establish with that sacrifice that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He wanted the world to recognize that there's a difference between the results somebody who surrenders to the Lord will get and somebody who doesn't surrender to the Lord will get. In other words, the purpose of the Rajasuya sacrifice was what? To please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the members of King Yudhishthira's family, they had no material aspirations. They were fully content. They were fully surrendered to Krishna. Even before the battle of Kurukshetra, when the two sides had a choice, and Duryodhana selected Krishna's army and soldiers, the Pandavas said, we just want Krishna. They knew that Krishna is the Supreme. So Krishna heard Yudhishthira's plan, and he heard Yudhishthira's vision. His vision was to make the whole world surrender to Krishna. He wanted the demigods also to accept that we are under the control of the Supreme Lord. We are not independent of the Lord. So Krishna heard Yudhishthira's desire, and Krishna heard Yudhishthira's desire. Krishna was very pleased. And Krishna said, I encourage you to have the Rajasuya sacrifice. And he fully bestowed his mercy. Krishna gave Yudhishthira full encouragement. He said, yes, perform the sacrifice. And Yudhishthira said, yes, I'll perform the sacrifice, but I need your encouragement. And the Lord said, yes, I can only be conquered by whom? I can only be conquered by those who have conquered their senses. Krishna explains in these verses that I can only be conquered. He says, you Yudhishthira have conquered me because you are engaging your senses constantly in serving me. Therefore I am conquered by you. And I can only be conquered by one who uses his senses in service to me. So this point is made by Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, Krishna can only be conquered by love. Krishna can only be conquered by devotion. Krishna cannot be conquered by any material endeavor. Bhaktyam mam avijananti. The conclusion of all the scriptures is that I can only be known by the path of bhakti. And what does bhakti actually mean? Bhakti means to use our senses, constantly in service to the Lord. So Krishna can be conquered with love. That means one who engages his senses in service of the Lord, he can conquer Krishna. If we don't engage our senses in service of the Lord, then there is no question of conquering Krishna. The whole purpose of this process of bhakti yoga is to get to the point that we purify our senses. Our senses are impure, contaminated, and as Prabhupada used to say, more black than a piece of coal, full of unlimited material desire. So Krishna has stated that, you brothers have conquered me with love. And Prabhupada is conquering Krishna with love means engaging the senses constantly in service of the Lord. If we engage the senses constantly, the senses need engagement, positive or negative. If you engage in them positively, then you can have success. This process of bhakti yoga, which begins with Shravanam and Kirtanam, is a means by which we can purify our senses. As Lord Chaitanya says, Chaitanya Brahmajana. One of the gains of chanting is what? You purify the heart. Purifying the heart means you remove the dust. It means you learn the importance of engaging the senses in service to the Lord. This whole process of bhakti yoga is a means by which we can purify ourselves. Due to ignorance, we may engage in a variety of sinful activities. In the Bhagavatam 10th canto, you read the story of the sons of Kuvera. What were the names? Manikdeva and Nalakava. They were the sons of Kuvera, who, as you know, is the treasure of the demigods. And you see, even in today's society, children of rich parentage get spoiled very easily. Children of rich families get spoiled very easily. So now the Muni, when he was passing by, he saw that it was so shameful. They didn't even cover their naked bodies, whereas the ladies had covered. And they were standing naked, intoxicated. So now the Muni said, let me give them a benediction. A sage, and when he curses, he gives a benediction. He cursed them to become trees. Where? In Chennai? No. In the courtyard of Nand Maharaj. But along with that, he gave them a benediction that at the end of 100 years, you will be able to have an audience with the Lord. So they became trees. Krishna remembered, my devotee Nada has given them this benediction. So at the end of the 100-year period, Krishna was tied to the mortar. He pulled the mortar between the two trees. Trees came falling. Out came the two sons. The two sons initially glorified Narada, but his blessing had made them, put them in a position where they could see the Lord. And then they said, from now onwards, may our eyes always see your beautiful form. May our tongue always glorify you. May our ears constantly engage in hearing your glory. May our legs constantly walk to the temple of God. The point is, at one point they were in ignorance. And when they were in ignorance, they were intoxicated, disrespectful to a sage like Narada. But now that they've come up and realized spiritual knowledge, they recognize that the correct utilization of the senses is in service to the Lord. So Krishna makes it very clear that I can only be controlled by the power of love. I can only be controlled by one who has controlled his senses. First step, you control your senses. And second step, then Krishna will agree to become under your control. But if you can't control your senses, if you're a slave of your senses, don't expect you can control Krishna. Krishna emphasizes love many times. Patram puspam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayajale. If you approach me with devotion and love, then I will accept, even if you give me a leaf as an offering. He made it so simple. Krishna doesn't say, you have to give me something very opulent. He's even ready to accept love, a leaf. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj was very pleased when Krishna gave his support. Krishna said, yes, Yudhishthira, go and perform the sacrifice. And he encouraged Yudhishthira. So once the Lord encourages, what more do you want? So Yudhishthira was ready to perform the sacrifice. So Yudhishthira wanted to perform the sacrifice just to establish the supremacy of Krishna. No other purpose. The purpose of the sacrifice was that all the demigods, all the kings on the planet, they should recognize that Krishna is the supreme. There is no one superior to Krishna. That is the desire of the devotee to always aspire to glorify Krishna. That's devotion. We always want to glorify Krishna, and we want to see Krishna glorified. The demigods sometimes get illusioned. Sometimes get illusioned and they think we are equal to the Lord or independent of the Lord. Even Indra, in the famous Govardhan pastime, Indra felt offended when he saw that the Indra Yagya had been stopped by the young Krishna, and Indra wanted to retaliate. But then what happened? He retaliated, but he lost. He recognized Krishna's eventually lifted the Govardhan hill like an umbrella to protect the citizens of Braj. So Krishna is the supreme personality of God. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadi Govinda, Sarvakarna Karna. The scriptures make it clear that Krishna is the cause of all causes. Ekala Ishwar Krishna Arsabhritaya. Krishna is the only master and all others are subordinate. So in illusion, the demigods also get bewildered. The demigods also begin to think we are equal to the Lord. And in the 10th canto, you see so many stories where the demigods are saved by the Supreme Lord. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj was very encouraged by Krishna telling him, go ahead and perform the sacrifice. So Amrish Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, what did he do? He sent his brothers to different corners of the globe. Some he sent to the north, some he sent to the south, some he sent to the east, some he sent to the west. And these brothers were going from kingdom to kingdom, telling the kings, King Yudhishthira is going to perform a Rajasuya. King Yudhishthira is going to perform a Rajasuya sacrifice. We want your support. And the kings, if they supported, that meant they accept King Yudhishthira, they accept allegiance to King Yudhishthira. And allegiance to the king meant surrender to Krishna. So each of the brothers went in different directions, and they said, Yudhishthira is performing a Rajasuya sacrifice, we want you to pay some taxes. Just like you have taxes now, you had taxes at that time too. And everyone gave his share of, gave the taxes. That meant he accepts Krishna as the Supreme, and that meant he owed his allegiance to Krishna. He accepts allegiance to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So the brothers went in all the different directions, and as the verse explains, explaining that King Yudhishthira sent his brothers everywhere, and everywhere the king said, we support this Rajasuya sacrifice. Yes, take these taxes. In other words, they gave their allegiance to King Yudhishthira and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the brothers, they went in a different direction, and they came back with a lot of wealth to do the Rajasuya sacrifice. First they had to collect the means to do the sacrifice, and then the sacrifice. But Yudhishthira discovered that all the kings were ready, but one king wasn't ready. Who was he? Jarasandha wasn't ready. So all the brothers came back and said, yes, every king that we approached, he gave his allegiance, gave the taxes, but when Yudhishthira heard that Jarasandha is not supporting it, then he told Krishna. Everyone agreed, but Jarasandha did not agree. So Yudhishthira was encouraged by Krishna encouraging him, and Krishna has already stated that my devotees are fully protected by me. In this section you see Krishna saying, my devotee Yudhishthira, before the Rajasuya, before the brothers went out to collect, Yudhishthira was told by the Lord, my devotees are specially protected by me, and nobody can surpass them. We see in the scriptures so many examples and stories of how devotees of the Lord were protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On one occasion, Durvasa Muni, with his many disciples, came to the house of Duryodhana, and he was very warmly received by Duryodhana. And at the end of the program of his hospitality, Yudhishthira, Durvasa Muni asked, "Is there anything I can do for you in exchange?" You know, when you go to someone's house and he looks after you, and as a courtesy you often say, "Can I do something in exchange?" So Duryodhana said, "Just like you purified my house, purify my cousin's house also." But you should visit my cousin only after they've eaten their lunch, after noon, because Draupadi and the Pandavas, when they were going in exile, they were given a special Akshaya Patra, by which Draupadi could feed unlimited number of people. But once she had eaten her lunch, she could not feed them till the Akshaya Patra would not provide anything till the next day. So Duryodhana knew this, and he knew that Durvasa Muni gets easily pleased and easily displeased. So they arrived as advised after noon, and as courtesy, Yudhishthira said, "Is there any way we can serve you?" And he invited him for prasad. And he invited him for prasad. And Durvasa said, "Let me take my noon bath and come back." When Yudhishthira turned to Draupadi, "Please prepare prasad for Durvasa and his 10,000 guests, 10,000 assistants." She said, "No, I can't provide for anyone because we've already eaten our lunch." And she was in anxiety that she won't be able to look after Durvasa. He'll get angry and he may curse them further. They knew that Durvasa gets easily pleased and easily displeased. So when Draupadi was in anxiety, now what to do? Somebody knocked at the door. And then somebody said, was Krishna. Krishna said, "Draupadi, I'm hungry, there's something to eat." He said, "No, there's nothing to eat, I've already eaten my lunch." Krishna said, "I don't believe it." And when Krishna was searching, looking at the pots on which it was cooked, he discovered, what he discovered? One piece of grain was stuck to the bottom of the pot. And Krishna said, "You said there's nothing to eat? Here there is something." And Krishna ate it. And when Krishna eats, what happens? Everyone is satisfied. When you go to the root of the tree, all the branches get nourished. So when Krishna ate, all the brahmanas were fed. And they started getting hiccups. So when they got these hiccups, Durvasa Muni knew some transcendental plan of Krishna is in progress, because he had already burned his fingers with Amrish Maharaj. And then Durvasa said, "Let's go, because if you go to Yudhishthira's house and he would have prepared all the elaborate feast, and we don't eat, it will look very offensive." So Krishna told Bhima, "Go and tell them the prasad's ready." But when they went there, they were informed, there was a money, he ran away with it. So there's so many examples of how Krishna protects his devotees. So Krishna told Yudhishthira, "My devotees are privileged. I protect my devotees and encourage my devotees. One result is obtained by one who surrenders to me, and another result is obtained by one who doesn't surrender to me." So we can't expect regardless of what we do, we'll get equal protection. What does Krishna say in the Gita? All of them, as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So we must recognize that if we surrender 10%, you get 10% coverage. Just like in the material world, you get insurance coverage. It's not that every policy holder has the same coverage. Is it? Based on the premium you pay, you get protected accordingly. And Krishna makes it very clear. The beautiful thing about the Bhagavad-gītaṁ and the Bhagvatam is everything is clear in black and white. Nothing is left in doubt. Krishna doesn't say, do whatever you want and I'll protect you. When Krishna says, Sarvadharmān parityaja māṁ ekam śranamraja, ham tvam sarve pāpe bhayo mokṣasāmi. Do not worry. Give up all varieties of religiousness and surrender to me. Then I will protect you. He doesn't say, keep doing your nonsense and I'm still protecting you. Many people have a very liberal understanding. They think you can go and do what you want and God's protection is still there. No. Krishna makes it clear in Sarvadharmān parityaja. Only this Sarvadharmān doesn't mean give up Islam, give up Christianity and just become a Vaishnava. It means with the body, mind and senses, serve me fully. Then I will protect you, do not worry. And Krishna says in the 18th chapter, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajivan namaskaro manvashi satyamne pratijane. Think of me, bow down to me, offer homage unto me, work for me. Then I will protect you. So Krishna makes it very clear. And Krishna told you this, yes, you must understand that one result is obtained by those who surrender to me, and another result is obtained by one who doesn't surrender to me. So, Jarasandha refused to pay the taxes. Jarasandha was a very strong warrior, and so when Yudhishthira heard that Jarasandha is refusing to pay taxes, that means he didn't accept Krishna's supremacy. He didn't want the Rajasuya sacrifice to take place, which was essentially just to glorify Krishna. So Jarasandha didn't want that sacrifice to take place. So he told Bhimsen. Bhimsen came towards his direction. Tell me, I'm not going to pay the taxes. So Yudhishthira also remembered that Uddhava had revealed a weakness in Jarasandha's body. Jarasandha was born from two separate mothers in two pieces. And when he was born in two pieces, so I said, born in two pieces, no value. He threw him out in the jungle. And there was a lady called Jara. She had a unique... This is hard to imagine with a conditioned mind. Jara, she found the two pieces and she knew how to glue it together. And she put it together and gave it to Jarasandha's father. So Uddhava had told this weakness in Jarasandha. So when Yudhishthira heard that Jarasandha is refusing to pay allegiance, then Krishna, along with Arjuna and Bhimsen, three of them disguised themselves as brahmanas and went to Jarasandha's palace. Jarasandha was very generous, especially toward the brahmanas. He would never say no to any request from brahmana. He was very generous. So, and he had specific appointment time when the Brahmanas could approach him. So Krishna and that Bhimsa and Arjuna, they approached him disguised as Brahmanas, and they went to the king's palace. The king greeted them nicely, and he just started staring at them. If you met someone before, and you meet that somebody again, sometimes you pause for a second. Where did I meet you? Does that happen? Okay. So, Jarasandha saw Krishna, Bhima and Arjuna, and he also saw that on their shoulders there was some marking. You will carry a bow all the time, or an arrow. You carry anything, even if you wear a wristwatch all the time, when you take it out, there's a marking left, isn't it? So these Kshatriyas had come disguised as Brahmanas, and Jarasandha, when he was talking to these Brahmanas, he could see these people don't look Brahmanas. Their voice is very commanding, a Kshatriya. Oh, yes, a Kshatriya speaks with a very commanding voice. So, Jarasandha, their voice is very commanding, very authoritative. And Jarasandha could see, he saw some markings on their shoulders, because they would always carry bows and arrows. Jarasandha concluded, these are not Kshatriyas, these are not Brahmanas, they are Kshatriyas. But he was happy that they are Kshatriyas, but they stooped to the level, they are disguising themselves to present, to come in front of him. So Jarasandha said, haven't we met before? You don't look like Brahmanas. Did we meet in Draupadi Swayam or? And then Krishna said, yes, we have come to fight with you. So please fight with us. And Jarasandha said, Krishna, I'm not going to fight with you. You are coward. You run away all the time. And you run away to Dwarka or Arjuna, I can't fight with you. You're younger than me. And you're no match for me. You're no match for me. Bhima said, yes, you are my equal. So I'm ready to fight with you. So those days, the battles were fought on some very saintly principles. Jarasandha took a club and gave it to Bhimsen, and the two started fighting. But they would fight only in the daytime, and in the evening they would sit on an prasad together. This was the Vedic society. They would fight only in the daytime, and in the evening they would be friends again. Can you expect that today? In Pakistan they fight at 9 to 5. The battle is from 9 to 5, and then the two sides have lunch together. No. So the Vedic society was highly civilized, where the Brahmanas knew what to do. So this went on for 27 days. They were both fighting vigorously, one attacking the other. But then, till 27 days, there was no outcome. But Bhimsen and he were almost equal. Jarasandha were equal. And finally, Bhimsen went to Krishna and said, I must confess, I can't defeat Jarasandha. Bhima had defeated 10,000 soldiers at one time. But he could not defeat, he told Krishna, I can't defeat Jarasandha. Please help me. So then Krishna took a branch of a tree and broke it to give an indication how Jarasandha could be defeated. And then Krishna himself attacked Jarasandha at his weak point. There was two bodies put together by Jara. So he knew how the body could be separated. So Krishna revealed the secret to Bhimsen. And then finally Bhimsen was victorious. And then Jarasandha had defeated 20,800 soldiers, kings, and kept them captives. And then they were also released. So King Yudhishthira, his real goal in performing the Rajasaya sacrifice was to please whom? Krishna. So from the Bhagavatam we learn the importance of desiring to serve the Supreme Lord. That should be our motive. What's good for Krishna consciousness we accept. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was explaining to Sanatana Goswami or the process of devotional service. And he gave 6 factors which are crucial for surrendering to the Lord. We often say, yes, I want to surrender to the Lord. But how do you actually surrender to the Lord? So what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Anukulena Krishna. Accept what is favorable for spiritual advancement. So our guiding spirit should be what is favorable, I'm ready to accept. And reject what is unfavorable. Gopal Krishna says, my dear friend, whatever price you have to pay the price, but become Krishna conscious. Don't give up Krishna conscious. To become Krishna conscious, we do have to sacrifice. What do you have to sacrifice? Sacrifice what's detrimental and accept what is essential. That should be our goal. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, accept what is favorable, reject what is unfavorable. And Rupa Goswami said, my dear friend, whatever price you have to pay the price and become Krishna conscious. So we should constantly keep this guideline. What is conducive for my spiritual advancement, I will accept. Chanting the holy name attentively, studying the books, staying in devotee association is very important. Especially staying in devotee association. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Sadhu Sangha a top priority when he was addressing Sanatana Goswami. This is revealed in many examples in the scripture. Dhruva Maharaj was offered by the Lord any benediction he may desire. Dhruva underwent great austerities. So the Lord said, Dhruva, ask me for anything you want. And what did Dhruva say? My dear Lord, if you want to give me a benediction, give me a benediction that I may always associate with advanced devotees, so that I'm always hearing the importance of devotional service. That is the desire of a devotee. In the 3rd canto, you read about Devahuti asking her son. She knew who her son was. She said, you are my transcendental eye. You are the axe by which you can cut the tree of entanglement. Please describe to me, how can I free myself from all these miseries of life? And the son said, Mother, your question is very glorious. And the son said, transfer your attachment to the transcendentalist. If you get attached to the transcendentalist, that will open the doors of liberation. And if you get attached to the materialist, that will lead to bondage. So sadhu sangha, sharva sadhaka, lava mata sadhu sangha. There are so many examples, so many verses in the Bhagvatam, that's especially Jad Bharat was questioned by King Rahugana. Initially King Rahugana didn't recognize the greatness of Jad Bharat. When he recognized this man self-enlightened, self-realized, he got down from his palanquin and surrendered to him and took shelter of him. So Jad Bharat says, same thing, associate with advanced devotees, because this association will give you knowledge about Shravanam and Kirtanam. So, in today's environment, we have to live in an environment where Maya is very strong. Some of you, maybe students, workers, we see that Maya is always ready to attack us. As like Krishna says, Devesha Guramaya Mama Maya Durataya. To overcome this illusory energy is difficult. But if you surrender to me, then you can. What does surrender to me mean? Follow my instruction. Engage, control your senses. Then you can control Krishna. But then Krishna says, if you surrender to me, then you can do it. So, we accept what is favorable, we reject what is unfavorable. A very important element on the process of Sharanagati is developing the quality of humility. Tinadapi suddhichena sarorapiyana amanina manadina katina. They're practicing humility in your behavior. Tinadapi suddhichena. More tolerant than a tree. More humble than a blade of grass. Ready to offer all respect to others without expecting anything in return. So, if we stay in regular devotee association, concentrate on activities that are auspicious, reject activities that are detrimental, we will be able to purify ourselves. And this chanting of the holy name cleanses the heart and it gives you ananda buddhi, gives you real pleasure. You have a choice, material pleasure or spiritual pleasure. And if you practice spirituality, you get real pleasure. That's like Lord Viṣṇu says, Tapo devem puttaka sattvam. My sons, please perform austerities for the pleasure of the Lord. And someone may say, what do I get in exchange? He said, unending spiritual happiness. So we have to have guarantee, we have to be assured that if we execute this process of devotional service as given to us by Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas, then this is the safest path to please the Lord. Krishna doesn't say don't act, he says act for my pleasure. Yat karoshi ashnasi, yadosi dadasya. So that should be our goal. And reading the 10th canto, where you get exposed to Krishna's unlimited pastimes, and by thinking of that, you can make advancement. After all, Krishna does say, think of me, bow down to me, offer your homage unto me. So when he said, think of me, how do we think of Krishna? One way we think about the beautiful archer vigraha of the Lord. I must say in your temple here, you have very beautiful deities, very beautiful Gaurnitai, Radha, Govinda, Radha Krishna, and Jagannath. Then another way is to think of Krishna's pastimes. Another way is to think of Krishna's instructions. Arjuna was very sad when the Lord departed, Arjuna began to recall those incidents which were difficult to succeed in, but he was successful due to Krishna's mercy. But then Arjuna began to recall Krishna's instructions from the Bhagavad-gītaṁ. And as Krishna and Arjuna was meditating on Krishna's instructions, he felt that Krishna was right there. So Prabhupada says, that should be our approach. Meditate on Krishna's instructions. We can only meditate on Krishna's instructions if we also read them and regularly. So we should regularly take part in Sharanam Kirtanam. Sharanam Kirtanam is a medium through which we can cleanse the heart. And if you keep executing Sharanam Kirtanam, then you'll get determination, nishtha. And if you keep endeavoring, then finally you'll get Krishna Prem. But we have to be determined to stay on this path. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of many wonderful stories. Vyasadeva, after having compiled the vast Vedic literature, was still feeling despondent. And then Narada Muni told them why. So this presents the highest process, nigama kalpakaror kalitam phalam, ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge. So we should regularly read and hear. That will help us to make spiritual progress. Hare Krishna. Any questions? I have to go soon here. Yeah. I'm sorry. Do we have a cordless mic?
Yes, sir.
My question is, can a free will interfere in Lord's plan? If yes, then how can we know that we don't make wrong choices and allow Krishna to take charge of our life?
Free will is there because it's for us to decide. Krishna doesn't want to force us to serve him. But when you're in doubt, am I making a right decision or a wrong decision, you can take the help of some senior spiritualist. When it comes to association, there are 3 levels of association we can have. Associate with those who are more advanced, equally advanced, less advanced. So when you associate with those who are more advanced, you can ask them, can I do this way or should I do this way? When in doubt, take help to clarify. Okay? Okay. Any other question? Yeah.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. So many wonderful pastimes you elaborated.
Not really. Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a wonderful class. So many wonderful pastimes you taught us and so many lessons. Question I have is, as you find in this pastime also that Krishna is taking so much of trouble to put Yudhishthira Maharaj on the throne. So basically Duryodhana was ruling and then Krishna had to fight the whole war and Yudhishthira was placed on the throne. So seeing that the importance of a devotee king should be ruling, and as you said, if he is ruling, then such an arrangement like Rajasvi Yajna for glorification of Krishna can take place. So similarly, is it that we also understand that the governments who are actually ruling, for example, today, so does it also make a difference on Krishna conscious movement? Because we also find that how much endeavor to put to actually also cultivate such kind of people, to bring them to be at least favorable for Krishna consciousness.
I don't think in today's environment you can expect too many miracles. I'm a practical man. I don't think in today's environment, if we increase our preaching, you'll get Yudhishthira Maharajas. I'm just being frank. But we should certainly try. And we are trying. And some people are just like our Italian division has produced the biggest religious book in the world, bigger than anything in the Quran or the Bible. And that book had just landed in Delhi. And the Prime Minister, when I met him 2 months ago, he agreed to inaugurate that book. So now that the book has come, we are working on a date, and it should be in February, sometime before the elections. So some improvement is there. The Prime Minister has agreed to come and release the Bhagavad-gītaṁ in our temple. But I don't think you can expect even the same Prime Minister to be any match to Yudhishthira. I think we can say, like Prabhupada used to say, make the best use of a bad bargain. So right now it's a bad bargain, Kali Yuga. Make the best use. We send our people to extract taxes, Rajasiya sacrifice. Nobody wants to pay with a GST. So I don't think we can expect. But we should keep trying. Okay, any more questions? Yes. Speak louder. What happens to the ego?
The ego of the person who surrenders to Krishna.
Real ego is recognizing I am servant of God. Jiva Krishna said that. False ego is I don't need to surrender, I know what's best for me. So your false ego becomes real ego, that's all. Just like we made a point in the lecture, and Lord Krishna says, I can really be controlled by one who controls his senses. Krishna makes it very clear. When you control me, first control your senses. Then you can control me. Krishna told Yudhishthira, you have conquered me, but you have controlled your senses. So, Krishna doesn't say don't act, but he says act for my pleasure, yat karoshi. So, ego will be there, either positive or negative. Okay. Okay, any more?
Mayavadi also, they also control the senses, but the problem is they don't engage the senses. It is missing.
They control their senses. Well, some of the Mayavadis are very austere, I must say. I must say that some of the Jain Munis are very austere. When I see these Jain ladies walking on the road, they walk for days and days. But their austerity, it's good they're austere, but they're missing the point. Austerity should be for Krishna. Krishna says, Yad karoshi dashnasi. Whatever you do, whatever austerity you perform, whatever charity you give, whatever work you do it as an offering unto me. That is the missing link. So we must understand, if our activities are dedicated to please Krishna, then there is one result. And if it is not dedicated to please Krishna, there is another result.
Can you say that then controlling the senses is secondary and engaging the senses is primary?
Engaging the senses, but the two happen simultaneously.
Yeah, but would you consider moral service than controlling senses?
But controlling senses is primary. If you control your senses, you naturally engage them in service. But if you don't control your senses, then you won't even engage them. You can't control your senses, you won't get up for Mangalarati. You can't control your senses, you won't control your tongue. So, control your senses, and the senses can only be controlled when they are engaged. You can't tell the senses, sit down. You have to give them some engagement. You need something to keep yourself busy. Either it's positive or negative. And either brain is devil's workshop. So you need some engagement. Okay, anything else?
Like you have explained the past tense of Manukhi and Naku. Naku and Manukhi, they feel shame when they could not cover themselves while Narada came. And because of this, Narada cursed them and they got the mercy of Narada. But these ladies, those who covered themselves, we don't have any explanation, they got mercy of Narada.
Of course they got mercy. They were more attentive than the men were. So now the Buddha was pleased. The Bhagavatam doesn't discuss that. But the important point is how those who were the important point is how those who misbehaved, how they got purified. They got purified by associating with another Muni. And then they associated with the Lord. He pulled down the 2 huge trees. Okay, any more?
On behalf of students community, I just want to ask, there are many distractions out there, and particularly in this
day and age.
Yeah. So, those who inspire to be in Krishna consciousness, what message?
One thing is, as Krishna consciousness expands, Maya is also expanding. It's not that Maya is saying, okay, now we are defeated. And the latest distraction are the smartphones. Smartphones are changing the lives of people. Smartphones are making people more lonely. Now you can see 2 people in the house, both are busy, but they never talk to each other. They're busy playing games. You follow? But these smartphones can also be used properly. How many of you have smartphones here? And if I ask you, how many of you have Prabhupada books in your smartphone? Most of you will say yes. So smartphones, if used in service of the Lord, they are a blessing. But if you don't use it in service of the Lord, it's a curse. Just like yogurt and milk. Smartphones, if you use it in service of the Lord, it's okay. But if you're going to use it for pornography and other stuff, now it's so easy. You can gamble from home, you can see vulgar movies from home, and a lot of people get distracted. So, what we need most is strong association. If you have strong association, that will help you. There are so many temptations now. You can watch movies. If you subscribe to a Geo program, they call it Geo, I call it Maro. If you want to buy a Geo program, you have access to 1 crore songs. How many movies? 1,000 movies. Now they have Disney World over there, they have everything there. So it's once you I was told this, I don't know how true it is. A few years ago, in Bihar, the high school results were very disappointing. So the government did a study. Why did all of a sudden so many people fail in the high school exam? And they found most of them were watching movies on Jio. So, they're making it so attractive now. People say, oh, 1 crore songs I can hear. I can watch Disney World, I can watch cricket matches, I can watch that. So, sense enjoyment is becoming easier and cheaper. Am I right? People used to see a movie and you buy a ticket for 100 rupees or whatever. Now you don't have to buy any ticket. You can watch your movie at home. Since enjoyment is becoming easier, isn't it?
It's accessible.
Previously, the theaters are going bankrupt because now nobody likes going to the movie hall. They can watch all the movies on their cell phone. First it was the television, but you can't carry the television everywhere. Television is immobile, but the cell phones are mobile. They go with your pocket everywhere. You very often I walk on the plane and if you see people in a bus, everyone's on the cell phone. I read a report recently that said that Indians spend more time playing games on the smartphone than any other community in the world. So that's your enemy number one. So that's why I tell people, when you do your japa, keep your smartphones away. These days when people get up in the morning, the first thing they want to do is see how many missed calls there are. And if they don't have any missed calls, they say, nobody's remembering me. That's a fact. Okay, any other questions? Or we stop here?
Maharaj, in the previous verse, it said like Arjuna was born to Indra. In the first canto, it says Draupadi was partly an incarnation of Sachidevi. So can you explain this, Maharaj? Because Sachidevi is supposed to be the mother, like wife of Indra.
Yeah. What did it say?
In the 11th verse, Maharaj.
Can you repeat your question?
Like in that verse, it says Arjuna was born to different Pandavas, the Pandavas whom they were born to. Arjuna was born to Indra. And in the first canto, 13th chapter, I think 3rd to 4th verse, it states that Draupadi is partly an incarnation of Sachidevi. Sachidevi is the wife of Indra.
Yeah.
So contradictory.
Well, I'll have to do some research into this. Yes. We'll have to do some research.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Sometimes you have these statements in the scriptures you need to do it. Any more questions? We'll stop. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. You all have a beautiful temple, beautiful deities, beautiful devotees, Bhanu Swami here. Take full advantage of this and make advancement. Hare Krishna.